Thank you, sir. Welcome everyone to this monthly meeting of the Kingston Common Council's Finance Committee. We're calling this meeting to order here at 6:35 on January the 8th, 2025. Minus 12 days to Armageddon. We will start off with tonight's comptroller's update as per usual. But because we've got visitors tonight, if everyone is okay on the committee, we will be moving the old business to the first item for consideration. Is that all right with everyone? Okie dokes. All right, John, where's the money? Where's it coming from? Where's it going to?
Yeah, exactly. Here's well, in exciting news or not so exciting news, I added a new section to the report this month. As we know, we had a tough budget cycle. So what I thought might be helpful for the council, going forward would be to add a section onto my report that identified, things that are happening in whether it's in the economy or whether budgetarily for the city, that may impact our finances or budgeting going forward. I'm not necessarily going to spend on time on this every month. I will update it as things come up. I'll try to point out any significant changes, but I just want you to be cognizant of, some of these factors. And right now, there are factors that I've identified here that will impact us in 25. I would expect that will impact us on the 26 budget, 27 budget, probably for the foreseeable future. Some are more near term, some are more long term. So does everyone have a copy of that?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the second page. I won't really touch base on the first page. It's all pretty much the same news I've been telling you as we're going along. In terms of budget stressors right now, some of the key ones, we have 3 bargaining unit contracts. I just want to point out that our contract with KPFFA expired at the end of last year. So that we are out of contract now with KPFFA. CSCA, KPPA expire at the end of this year. Those will all have to be factored in with the 26 budget. When you look at the 26 budget, you're potentially looking at 2 years of KPFFA. And whatever happens with CSCA, KPPA, I can't tell you whether or not those contracts will be settled by then, but they are outstanding. They will be outstanding as of the end of next year if they're not settled. So that's no increases are known at this time, whatever they are. So we have to consider that. We know that employee benefit costs are a significant part of the city's budget. They represent 1/3 of the city budget. We experienced a $2.2 million increase in our employee benefit costs in the 25 budget. That is a pressure that I see being here for a while. I think it's going to continue to be a pressure going forward, particularly with our health insurance and New York State retirement. Those increases have been significant each year for the last several years. So I don't really see a slowdown there. The next bullet point refers to our fund balance. As you know, we used $2.9 million of fund balance to balance the 2025 budget. I would like to see that number come down for the 26 budget. In terms of the city's financial health, it needs to come down. From a cash flow standpoint, that's not sustainable, right? Eventually, we tap out our fund balance. So, but to get there, it's going to put pressure on the tax levy. Okay. As we have a little more pressure on the fund balance, that could impact our ability to do those one-time payoff of fund balance or payoff of short-term debt, could impact our ability to pay as you go capital. As you know, those of you who've been on for a few years, how every year after we do our annual report, we see where fund balance levels are. We take action because the fund balance has been above that upper threshold of 20%. And typically we use those funds to either pay off short-term debt, pay for equipment or other capital that was previously approved for bonding, but we haven't bonded for yet. I see the opportunities for that decreasing going forward as fund balance gets a little tighter, which in turn could impact our debt service budget. It's going to be a little tight, harder to control from going upwards, right? So, being able to use the fund balance to pay off, that's been, helpful in keeping that number, growing at a sustainable level. Just gonna be a little more pressure there, particularly if fund balance continues to decline. Then the last one, this kind of goes hand in hand with the sales tax report you have. It's worth noting sales tax and property tax account for 70% of the city's revenue in the 2025 budget. It's, sales tax is budgeted at 20.3 million, real property tax at 19.6 million. And I gave you a chart that shows you the sales tax revenue over the last 5 years. From 20 to 21, we jumped 21.7% in sales tax. It's over $3 million increase. That increase was very useful in helping to fund increases in expenditures in the budget that we saw. The following year, it only went up 6.8% or 1.2 million. In 23, it went up even less, 2.8% or 553,000, which is more a historical norm of what sales tax grows from year to year. And this year, we're projecting even less, 2.2% increase or 426. I worked on this a couple days ago. I just got notice of the next sales tax expenditure in this report. And if I had to estimate that this number will even be less than what I have here, it'll probably be down in the 2% or less range. So, when we're talking about what kind of monies we have in revenue growth year over year to fund increases in expenses, sales tax and property tax are the lion's share of that. That's why we talk about fees and trying to look at fees and whether or not our fees need to be revisited. But as you see here, sales tax, potentially goes up, $400,000 year over year. It's not a lot of money to work with. So, that's going to continue to be pressure. For whatever reason, if we see a downturn in the economy, that will amplify that even more. So I just, most of these, I'll continue to update these with some live numbers throughout the year. If I see something else happening, I'll try to, alert you to it, but I'm not going to rehash bullet point by bullet point every month, but I will at least include this section on the report so you have it. You can refer to it, sure.
This is a little out of left field, but are we anticipating that 4th thruway rest stop to be renovated this year? Because those are big drivers of Ulster County sales tax.
That's not something that I consider at this point. Good question.
Is that the one further south?
Yeah,
that's got a ways to go. I just drove by it this past weekend.
but those 4, we're only counting 4.
Michelle?
So I just came from the water board meeting, and it looks like we're gonna have to bond something for them, but take a vote next month,
Okay.
so better water. Yeah.
Fortunately, the water debt is paid for out of the water budget, right? And then their debt is not subject to our debt limit.
Okay.
But with a lot of the sewer improvements and sewer infrastructure work that we're doing, we've had a lot of grants, but we've also had to take on some bonding. So there's certainly pressure there on sewer rates and overall on our debt limit. I think I mentioned this at some previous meetings recently. But certainly we've had some large projects, deeds, in the library project, although it's paid for separately on a separate tax line, on a property tax bill, that is part of our debt limit. So certainly you'll see us getting, that debt limit number. There's constitutional debt limit. We used to be hovering around that 25% range. We are significantly higher right now because of that. There's a couple of those large projects.
They'll be getting grants as well, but we just have to bond them.
When you're submitting that,
I would think so.
I'm sure we'll see the beers in that. They've been very
They
fortunate
just
to get a lot of
voted.
EFC funding, which has been great. In some cases, it's low interest or no interest. But yeah, it's not always possible to get for everything. So,
They just voted tonight, so I'm sure.
okay. And then it has to go to the town council.
In the meantime, buy a bunch of stuff so we can increase the sales tax. This is the time to replace your refrigerator.
And buy it in Kingston?
Buy it on Ulster County, buy it on Ulster County.
Buy it in the county.
In the county.
In the county, all
You
right.
gotta cover anything in the county.
All right, good. Thank you for that, John.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions, comments,
Thank you.
fears, enthusiasms? All right, good. So we will now move on to the consideration of 46 Grand Street. So Bartek, can I ask you to just review where we're at with this?
Yeah. Right, so, my office put out a request for expressions of interest for the sale of 46 grand, which the city got back from the previous purchaser. We did receive 5 applications for the property. An evaluation committee did meet and they made a recommendation. That the recommendation was the coup. The Common Council wanted to look at all of the applications that were received because the Common Council does not necessarily have to follow the recommendation of the evaluation committee. And so the, let's quote unquote, finalists that the Common Council would like to review based on the initial review from the evaluation committee is the Kingston City Land Bank and the COOP. And I believe both entities would like to present and or share a few words about their proposal tonight. Is that sufficient? Okay.
I think that's good. Does anybody have any questions for Bartek before we get started? Are you clear on the process here?
Yeah.
Okay, I will go in alphabetical order, and so C comes before K. Do we have, who's representing COOP here?
I'm right behind you.
Yikes.
Didn't mean to sneak up on you there.
Come join us at the table here.
Okay.
Not at the head there, because, yeah, good. Because otherwise people see the back of your head on the TV.
Yeah.
Oh, if I'm talking from over there?
No, if you're sitting there, just sit there.
Sitting here.
That's all.
Okay.
Easier for you to hear
Yes.
when you're back.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Emily Sewall, and Tina Dierna is on Zoom with us. We are the co-founders of the Food Concept. We are a fiscally sponsored 501c3. So we are coming into our 3rd year now. We had a pilot summer. We are upskilling some of Kingston's youth in carpentry, gardening, entrepreneurship, and many other talents and tasks that would be helpful going forward. So in our first season, we totally overhauled the elementary school garden, demoed, rebuilt garden beds. Our contributors got their OSHA 10 certification, and we also had lots of guest speakers from the community. Going forward, we did partner with PlayScore. We used their establishment this past summer for our next group of teens. And in their time where it was raining or way too hot, we did lots of art projects, writing, and in fact, quite a few of them contributed to writing this grant here. So this summer, the bottom left here, that's at PlayScore. And the top left and bottom right, and some other pictures in there, you will actually notice 46 grand in the background of the center right. So the kids all had a lot of input to this project. And, you know, we asked them what they want and they told us, and they would like some community youth housing. This will also be a project for our concept headquarters, where we can run programming for the community, as well as Kingston Youth. We're not directly involved, but maybe I can actually just take 1 second and ask our board members to maybe just introduce themselves and say why they're passionate to donate their time to the group. Maybe a few people in the back right here.
If you'd tell us your name and just a brief comment.
Sure. My name is Jamie LeGrand. I've been working with youth for about 30 years. I think that any community that invests in their young people is a stronger community for it. And I think that a particular program that has to do with workforce development and addresses the housing crisis for our young people is particularly a need in the community. So I'm really passionate about being a part of it. I'm really excited to help out and partner with our young people, and also with Tina and Emily, who have really, led the way in this venue. So thank you for your time.
Hi, everybody. Leslie Wellington. So pleased to be here. I spent more than a decade working on trades-based education and vocational programs. And I ran a national nonprofit called the Urban Manufacturing Alliance, where we lifted up models just like the COOP concept. So now being able to work on a project like this close to home, which I see as a best practice nationally for being both rooted in community, providing the mentorship training opportunities, but also thinking about the full circle of what people need when they're entering new careers. And so that includes housing. So seeing this holistic approach to community economic development was nothing short of energizing for me. And so I think I may be the newest board member, but I'm just so thrilled about the vision and just really hopeful for what's to come. I'll also just add that the combination of a female GC and a social worker at the helm of the organization is really unique and I think poised to do big things for Kingston and beyond.
Hi everyone, my name is Esther Rickshager. I'm a LMSW and working in community health, actually at the high school across the street here. And when Tina asked me to join this project, it was a no-brainer because I look at the whole person as like the social determinants of health, housing, mental health, community, being immersed in nature, learning about how to make things and develop skills. And I think what Emily and Tina are doing is like a very unique combination of providing all of these different services that really give a roundness of resources and empower the next generation. And so I think this is something Kingston really needs. I don't think there's a lot of programs like this in our community, and especially with the youth kind of stating that that is what they're asking for, and just giving them that voice to make the decisions in the community is really important as well.
Thank you. Bartek, would you mind going to the next slide?
Actually, can I jump in real quick from the monitor?
I didn't see you there.
That's okay. Actually, both Rob and I are here on Zoom land. I actually just had major back surgery on Friday, so I didn't want to miss this, and I'm coming from my bed right now, a few days out of spinal surgery. My name is Tina Dierna. I am the co-founder of the COOP concept. Prior to the COOP concept, I worked on several different projects with Pratt Institute and Kingston High School Youth, and building a tiny home with a Project Tool Up, which was an organization that got together one summer and built a tiny home with our Kingston High School kids. I work full-time at Kingston High School. I have no plan to leave there. I will be retiring from there at some point. I'm a social worker there. I am a transition counselor, and I help our young people transition to adulthood. And for the last 10 years, I've heard our young people in Kingston saying that they can't really afford to live here. And it's been a passion of mine since I was probably about 18 and living on my own, in finding cooperative ways of living together and being able to collectively come together to create future for ourselves. And so I myself lived in a very small collective while I was in college. And I was given that opportunity through the mentors that I had in my life. And so I come with a very unique perspective in that I'm in the high school and I get to work with these kids in the summer and on the weekends through a very holistic approach. And I am a licensed social worker. And I'm going to turn it over to Rob too, because he's here as well.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Jameson. I'm a founder of an organization called Trust Up in Kingston. We help make the collaborative economy stronger. I've been a board member of COOP Concept for about a year now, and I've seen up close that this is a very critical age group, and by giving them a sense of direct purpose and ability to contribute back to the Kingston community, it's been really rewarding to see people come into themselves. And I can't recommend this approach high enough.
So I did actually neglect to introduce my portion of this. You can see that Tina is the social worker, so I am the general contractor. I've been working in construction for 14 years, mostly self-employed, also employed as a project manager. So this is something I'm very familiar with. And I have been instructing the youth in the carpentry projects. They do have restrictions, obviously. They are not allowed to use power tools and things of that nature. Once we get farther into the anticipated projects, they can do things like paint and help decorate and fill it with art that they've made in their programs. But we will leave the building to professionals in this particular case. So right here in the what we do, I summed up before we even got here for the most part, just all the things that they've been working on in their summer projects, how they're out in the community, just a lot of professional and personal growth. And Tina also does art projects on the weekend. We have an office at the Cornell Cooperative Institute. So we also have an opportunity for people to come by the projects that the kids have been working on. And just the more feedback we get, the more programming we can offer. And we really need a home base instead of borrowing from our other community members who have so far been very generous. But in order to move forward, we need more space. So this is the finished garden enclosure at Chambers Elementary. It's 32 by 32. This was our major program for the summer that we did in really 5 days with the youth. We only did it 1 day per week, and the first day we kind of burned because they didn't have any materials on site. So we did a lot of layout measuring and a little bit of digging. And in the bottom corner here, these are some birdhouses they made with some, what was in my project, scrap siding material. So it's an A-use, it's an outdoor wood, but they wanted to make them nice and bright. So these are also available at our store. Okay, so I did mention that we are looking for a community housing program, and we did select the age 21 to 24, so there wouldn't be any overlap between kids just coming out of high school and those of drinking age or more independent age. We didn't want to make that too complicated, and we would like to have one person that is kind of in charge of the house that is living with their community members, and obviously our office is in the same building. And the way that the building is laid out lends itself to the 2-story section being for housing with multiple restrooms, and then the lower single-story area for a workshop area, 2 small offices, and a community room to work through. Okay. Not sure how many people have been to this property. It is fairly overgrown, and you can tell that it needs a major overhaul. It is a 3,100 square foot multi-use building, so we are able to zone it for multiple uses, which we'll get to in just a second. As I explained, it will serve the youth both at Kingston High School, kids within programming that are paid through Summer Youth Employment Program, as well as other vocational programs in the community. And the idea is also for them to design the outdoor space. So this is just a little sketch up of what we think it could look like in the future. The sunflowers are a bit oversized, but there will be certainly components of community gardening, and if Tina has her way, there will definitely be chickens to fly the coop. This time I'd like to introduce Corinne Reynolds right here. She is in charge of the new layout, the proposed plans.
Good evening, my name is Karen Reynolds. I'm a local architect. My husband, James Reynolds, and I have been working on this project. We were selected by the group to be on board. And we are honored to help this incredible project to come to life. So we did prelim measurements and did a walkthrough, and it looks as if this building lends itself really well to their program. So the existing first floor of the 2-story building would house a kitchen and a dining room meeting area and a community gathering space or living area. And the main focus was, we did a code review. So the main thing that needs to be revised is the access to the second floor. And so you see there on the plan a new staircase that meets the future use. The uses as per code is boarding house, so it's basically not a residential use. And that the stair that's reflected there is to code. And then on the right hand side, you see that's the one-story building that would lend itself to a gathering space and to small offices. And we added a bathroom and a small kitchen for that area. And the second floor, if you want to. Second floor, I mean, this was originally probably a residence or I think the latest use was a restaurant, bar, and upstairs people lived, but maybe original, it was just a residence with a bathroom. And we added a second bathroom, and the rooms are existing, and there are 4 bedrooms, but they could also be combined two people bedrooms, depending on how long these young adults will be living there. So, but as you can see, this building seems to work really well for the program of the group. And so we helped them, we did the code review. So, and then we also did a cost estimate, and maybe you were interested in that. So we calculated based on our rough dimensions, the square footage is about 3,200, and current. So the estimated construction budget is about 800,000 based on 250 a square foot. That's current minimum square footage costs in Kingston. And that doesn't include site cost or contingency or architectural fees or other fees. So, and yeah, we're excited to support the group in this project, and thank you. If you have any questions for me.
What are the sizes of the bedrooms, like square footage of each bedroom?
They're about 100, and we couldn't really measure them because there was a build-up with stuff. But they're about 100 square feet, and per code, you can have per occupant in a bedroom, you need about 50 square feet, or you need 50 square feet.
Then you have to.
Are meals included like a board situation, or are they there's just a communal kitchen there?
Communal kitchen.
The communal kitchen.
Okay.
There's a small separate galley kitchen for the programming and offices, and then a much larger community kitchen on the main side with one dining area as well.
Does the 800,000, does that include only the building out of the place or everything?
These are construction costs. So 3,200 square foot of area upstairs and down and first floor times 250 is about 803,000. And that it does not include site costs, but maybe the site, maybe cutting the grass and planting some plants that could be done by the young adults, right? So, and then sometimes a contingency is typically what is unforeseen. We did a walkthrough, there's a lot of old equipment, probably this equipment, everything needs to be replaced. But we did talk to a contractor who has done the adjacent two buildings. And he confirmed with us that 250 is what he basically spent on the adjacent buildings. I don't know if you're familiar with these buildings. He just renovated them. Probably they were in the same condition, right? And he confirmed with us that he had to replace all the utilities and, new heat pumps and electric panel and all that. And so that seems like a realistic number. So it seems like a lot of money.
Actually.
No, it doesn't sound like a lot of money.
If you can get this done for 800,000, you're doing very.
I mean, I was thinking it'd be with all the other costs and contingency, it's like $1 million.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Have you all seen the property?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, it's-
I
it's gonna buy
figured, but it's, I mean,
Yes. Are you gutting it? You're gutting it?
yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to, can I jump in?
This is,
Yes.
this is, I think very.
Tina, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
So I'd like to kind of move us forward too into like the funding sources and kind of talking about this. And so I think some of you may know me and some of you may not, but I am a very committed member of our community, and I have a lot of community organizers and people who are here to help. So we have already sourced out some of the materials and ways to get the work done by utilizing our community. Particularly jumping right into this project, we do anticipate it being in the $850,000 range. We have secured a bank loan for $250,000. We have our prospective grants right now that are out. That's about $300,000. To date, we have raised $146,000 in grants in general for our programming. And that's our very short-term summer programming. This past year, we expanded to a full year program. We've also started offering a tween group that meets on Fridays. So as we expand our programming, we know that we'll be able to apply for more grants. We do have a matching foundation that's willing to also match the funds that we've raised in 2025 for this project. And we have started a capital campaign. When I was told that I was able to kind of start sharing the news that we were selected, we started to create a capital campaign with locals to pledge their funding. We can move on to the next slide. So since in the last 6 weeks, we have raised $50,000 in pledged money. We've gotten 5,000 in donations currently. So as of right now, where we are at is 305,000 to start the project. And I think that that is a good amount of money to really start. And once we have the building and our 501c3 in place, we feel that our grant writer has been able to secure a lot of funds from local foundations and global foundations. We can move on to the next slide. And this is just more about our, our funding gap analysis right now, where we are in a minimum and maximum with the funding that we have currently to date. We can move on to the next slide. So we wanted to kind of talk about our action plan and then allow the floor to be opened up for any questions that everyone has. I wanted to introduce you all to Merlin. She is a 10th grader at Kingston High School. She's been working with us since July, and she returned back into our workforce development program this past this whole year. So she's been coming out every Saturday and working with us. She enjoys being out in nature. She has really grasped the idea of being an amazing mentor, and working with her peers and formulating relationships with other kids her age in a workforce way. You can turn to the next slide. So to accelerate our fundraising efforts, we really want to intensify our local campaign, where donors would be able to name each room. So if a local bank wanted to go ahead and donate a room, then that would be their room. They would have a plaque and a dedication message to the young people who would be residing in this house. So this is just one of our many ways to help out so we could get to our $250,000 goal this spring, by utilizing our social media and working with our community stakeholders and engaging the community in what this means for us. We want this to be like one of many houses around the country, because we know that around the country, young people are continuing to have a lack of affordable housing. I myself am a mom of 5. 4 are my stepdaughters, 2 are in college, and they're thinking they're going to have to live with us till they're 30, because there's nowhere for them to live in their own community. So this really like hits home for me, and I think as some of you and parents in the room would also kind of feel the same way. Where are our kids going to live? And this is a way to model a new way of community living, and allowing our community to really pitch in and help out from the beginning. So we have several different levels of sponsorship, whether it be a room, our community wall mural, a stair riser, a garden brick, or just on our wall of chickens. As Emily said before, I love chickens. You can move on to the next page. So just ways to give: envelope, online, credit, debit cards, how to support us. So we're going to start this in 2025 with a capital campaign to all of our followers and our friends. And a little fun tidbit: Emily and I met. We both play women's ice hockey up in Saugerties. I'm the team captain of the newly formed Hudson Valley Valkyrie. Emily joined us in 2020, and we drove our first way to a game, bonding with masks on during COVID and talking about tiny homes and the young people of today. So we have been in a bonded relationship for 5 years, playing hockey together, and just really vibing off of one of each other's our spirits and everything that we kind of stand for. So we've put this slide together. If you want a copy of this, we'd be happy to share it out. But each one of the underlined things is a link to something important to us. I'm also the period power lady, so the woman in town who hands out tampons and pads to Kingston High School youth. We've done a lot of work with HETC, TMI Project, the I Matter Project, and so really leveraging all of those amazing people that have worked with me over the last 5 years to make me who I am today. We're calling on all of them to help our next generation of young people become who they are. And when I did post this recently on social media, I had about 20 of my past students reach out to me to say, "Hey, Miss Dearna, how can I help? How can I get involved? I wish something was like this when I was in school, and I'm willing to come back and help out in any way I can." And I think that speaks volumes to our Kingston community and who we are. You can move on to the next page. I think everyone froze on my end.
Oh, it's like the next page. Oh, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
That's the whole
Just a
thing.
little bit about our nest. A quote from me: our nest fosters connection, enriches community, and empowers the next generation to spread their wings and fly the coop. Thank you all for giving us this time to chat. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Yes.
How would you distinguish your program that you're proposing here from the YMCA Farm Project or Youth Build or some of these other similar kinds of projects that are going on in town?
Tina, I'm not gonna pass this to you. She's good about.
I'd be happy to answer that. I don't think that anything particular distinguishes us from each other, but there's only so many that each project can work on. We have 2,000 students at Kingston High School alone. And so YMCA Farm Project, the Boys and Girls Club, My Kingston Kids, Draw, all of these organizations can only help so many kids. We don't have the capacity to build out one project to service and help hundreds of young people. So the more the merrier. And that's also part of my job at the high school is to connect all of those programs and work collaboratively with everyone. So I don't think anyone's stepping on anyone's toes. If somebody comes to me and they're really interested in gardening, they might start with me and then I might say to them, you need to go to the YMCA Farm Project next year. I happen to be the connector at the high school with all of these kids too. And I think that's like the biggest takeaway is I know them. They come into my office and I work with them in my day job and in my afternoon job and in every way. I'm here for the Kingston youth. And I think we need to show up better for them in terms of being able to make sure that if we say that we want them to be here and stay here in our community, then we need to make sure that we have housing for them in our community as well. And this is a way to think a little differently, and thinking differently from the tiny home builds. A community of tiny homes could really go a long way for a bunch of young people, and can get them outside of their own comfort zone and out of their own thinking box, where they're able to grow and fly the coop.
And then, so I see you've got your estimate of up to about $850,000 for the renovation of the project, of the building and so forth. What about funding for maintaining the programs if you were to get this building and you were successful with the renovation? How do you foresee funding the sustainable future?
Yeah, so the way that we have modeled our programming is also on a sliding scale fee. So whether we're running summer programming and our young people are being paid to work for us, or they're paying to work with us. So we have that ability to offer a sliding scale fee, where we're also even able to pay our young people. We work with Access VR, that's the New York State higher education program. And they place kids with us in internships with disabilities. And a disability could be ADHD like myself, or it could be somebody who has autism or asthma, diabetes, right? So the word disability is very broad. Those young people could come in and work with us during the summer and they're getting paid through Access VR. And then we also work with the county, Ulster County Youth Force Development, and they also place kids with us. So that model is very sustainable. And then in addition to that, we have created a small online store through all of the things that these kids have created. And they're learning how to become makers and shakers themselves in developing their ideas of how much this birdhouse should cost. This is how much it costs to make. Oh, Emily got all of this material from a job site because they were going to throw it in the trash, and like really reclaiming and thinking about reduce, reuse, recycle at the same time. Our housing program, we plan to make it affordable. We also plan to have the young people who are living there, they're going to be paying a specific amount in rent, and a specific amount is going to be saved in a savings account, working with a local bank, whether it be first-time home buyer or a savings account with a high interest yield. And they can then, when they graduate from the program, we hope that they come in at 21 and they leave at 24. This isn't a boarding style house. It's a cooperative living. You're deciding to cooperatively live with other people who also need to become independent and can become independent if they're given the opportunity to kind of spread their wings a little, and save their money and learn the skills, and have, family meetings, some things that maybe they might not have ever been used to, but cooperatively they're coming together to say, I would like to live here and these are my reasons why. So we're also not stepping on toes like Midway, and Family House and Family Woodstock and what they have going on.
So, will there be staff on site, part-time, full-time?
There will be staff on site, part-time and full-time. Our plan is to eventually have an LCSW there as an office space and offering our young adults mental health counseling and treatment while they're there. Also, the Coop Concept office will be there. So Emily's full-time position will be at the Coop. She's also an amazing furniture woodworker. So having a space for her to also make with the students will be a great opportunity. And so we do see that there's staff there, but there's also independence, because we're looking at 21 to 24-year-olds who otherwise would be living on their own, but cannot afford to live on their own. These are adults. They're not children. They are young adults who are like, I'd really like to live on my own. I'm working, but I can't get around the systems that be here because I cannot find affordable housing on my own.
Michael?
Yeah, so these tenants, you envision them living here for a year or for 3 years? And then will they have leases?
Yes, so they will have a lease and they will be living in the house. If they come in at 21 and they want to stay until 24, they can have a renewed lease. If they come in at 23, they have to leave at by their 25th birthday.
Okay.
Drew?
Hi, Tina.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, so one thing I have to say, I've known Tina for a very long time. She is very dedicated, and anything that she really says come to fruition. I know that about you. You do love the kids, and you're on it, okay? So I know that for a fact. I do have a couple questions, though, like the timeline. When will this project be completed or foreseen be completed?
Well, we were really hoping to get it completed by the end of 2026. We were also thinking that this would be in our hands by December. So I think we've been thrown off a few months, but I do see this project coming into fruition within 2 years fully. But with Emily being there full time, I think ideally our goal would be a year to a year and a half.
Okay. And what's intriguing to me about this project is that it lends to.
I think you all cut out again on my
Can
end.
you hear me? Hello? Mic check?
He's behind you.
Hey. Tina, can you hear me?
Oh.
I can't hear you, but Emily might be able to answer some of those questions.
Okay, this one is just, I love the housing or community housing idea. That's great. What I do, because I know that when we started our not-for-profit, I had a state job that I had to let go in order to dive in. And to me, it's hard to balance to a full-time job and this project. Seems like it needs all. Are you there, Tina?
Well, I can
Yeah,
also,
sorry, I got kicked out.
Yeah.
right,
So-
this will be my full-time job.
So you're the lead, you're like
Yes.
the ED of the project.
Yeah, so Tina is on for weekends and programming and creating and things like that. We also do a full program through summer youth employment all of July. So I will be full-time as a GC for the project, while working, I'll be stepping in on summer youth employment. But a lot of project management, I will be managing a staff, so I'll have time to be doing permitting and scheduling all the subs and supervising work. So I will be there, hands-on full-time.
Okay.
And, we'll still be participating in summer programming and, like I said, the programming at the head office. Full-time. And full-time person.
So I have questions about the fundraising.
Sure.
I mean, I professionally, just to let you, I work in the nonprofit sector and I work with a lot of small and mid-sized organizations and I write a lot of grants.
Okay.
And I've also raised capital funds. So I know what you're about to embark on. And I guess my questions are, since you don't even have a 501c3 yet, how do you see yourselves being competitive in the fundraising field when you're out there looking for money, like the hundreds and thousands of other organizations out there, because it's a very competitive field out there and not all grants come in. And you've got some big numbers here, like.
I can speak to that.
Certainly.
Yeah, Noah Foundation grant for $250,000. Like these are big numbers.
I can speak to that.
Okay.
So we are fiscally sponsored by Good Work Institute. We have been for 2 years. We have applied for our paperwork. We work with the pro bono attorneys out of New York City and Poughkeepsie office. We have our attorneys currently right now. We are becoming a nonprofit within the next few weeks. All of our paperwork was submitted in October. It is Fly the Coop Inc. We are currently doing business as the Coop Concept through our fiscal sponsorship. That said, we have raised $146,000 over the last 2 summers, just for 2 summer programs. And I do have connections with local foundations because of the work that I do in the community of Kingston.
Okay, though, I guess I think your programs are exemplary, by the way. Let me just say, I think your programs are great, and that's what you have experience raising money for. But capital campaigns are different, and once you're out there, it means that if you're asking for money from a certain foundation, they might fund your programs and maybe not the capital or one or the other. It's challenging. So how do you see yourself negotiating both fundraising for programs and for a new building?
Side by side, and working with the team behind the scenes, not in our border here, but we have 4 adults that work for us part-time. Through Access VR, and they are our grant researchers. We also have a grant writer. And that said, we have $300,000 in grants out there right now. We have also gotten $50,000 in donations in the last 6 weeks alone, as part of our capital campaign. From both foundations and private businesses. So we have a team behind us doing the work. I'm not doing it all myself. So I know Drew was wondering, is Tina doing this all herself? So we do have an amazing team behind us. And that said, we have a woman who is working for us part-time through Access VR. She has a disability. She has to stay at home, and doing things online is easy for her. And so we're skilling up other people in our community, and we're taking her through the process. She's now one-on-one with our grant writer and is starting to work on writing grants. So like, as the snowball effect is, we're working with all these amazing people and we are training them. And now this woman will leave us, work with our grant writer, and then go off on her own and become a grant writer. I mean, so like mind blowing that we are creating opportunity for people in the Hudson Valley beyond our young people. And I didn't mention that at all. And maybe because I'm super excited about this, but also I had back surgery on Friday, so I'm still a little out of the game in this.
I'll also just add that part of the reason I think that Tina and Emily wanted the board to be here at this meeting was to show the commitment that this board has to the development work ahead of us. And every new venture starts out in this position, right? So I founded a nonprofit 8 years ago. There were many points at which we thought that we wouldn't be a nonprofit, and then there are points at which you reach a critical mass of funding, and then things take off. And then you have the local foundations knocking on your doors. And given the relationships that Tina and Emily have, and some of the foundation inroads that they made on the programming side, I'm pretty convinced that those foundations will come in on the capital side as well. And I think there are a number of high net worth individuals too that have come into this region that would be very committed to supporting something like this. And so we're thinking about it from both the foundations and the corporations around here, but also who are the community connections on a private level that we can lean on to make this come to fruition.
Michelle.
Thank you very much for being here and for your presentation. I'm just curious if you have a projected operating budget for like a year's time, like once you're off the ground.
Yes, I can get that to you. I don't have that off the top of my head, but we do have our operating budgets.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, actually, I think Carol, you're behind me. Yeah, sorry, Carol and Steve.
I just wanted to get some clarity on the number of units that would be available for rental by your 21 to 24-year-olds, how many units they would be, and in terms of fair housing, if what would prevent someone from the community that didn't have these particular needs as you described them, from not getting a unit in your development?
I was gonna say, get all that, no, that's fine.
You cut out again. I don't know if.
Do you understand my question?
So what would prevent someone from qualifying?
From somebody just, off the street saying, oh, there's an apartment available there. They don't fit necessarily your service population, but they need housing. Would they be precluded from getting an apartment in your?
So there are 4 rooms, double occupancy. So the maximum by code that we'd be allowed to have is 8. And we'd be accepting applications initially based on age and being priority from the area, not just moving to the area. This is meant to serve local community.
And so there would be a priority population for you?
For residents of Kingston.
For residents of Kingston. I don't know that that's legal, but
okay, that is.
You're really not allowed to.
Okay.
Okay, but I guess I'm just wondering about the demographic that you have in mind, because from what I can read from your website, you were talking about people that were transitioning out of foster care. Yes.
That's certainly an eligible demographic.
Right.
I couldn't hear that.
What I'm pointing to your website where you mention the demographic of the population that you're looking to service, and you mentioned that some of them would necessarily be aging out of foster care, having certain issues with families such that they would find themselves in need of a place to live on their own. So, or will there be any supportive services associated with this?
So Tina was describing that we would eventually have a licensed mental health counselor on site for one of our offices that would be offering services to residents and also community members.
And this would be exclusive of their rent? These services would be available to them free of charge?
I believe that would be included in, as an employee of us, that would be.
Yes, we have particular funding that we would have set aside for that. Also, if they do have insurance, our provider or the provider that is housed in the office there would also be able to take insurance. We would not turn our residents away if they needed some mental health therapy or treatment. I myself am LMSW, Esther on our board is a LMSW, hopefully getting a LC soon. And in terms of looking over applications and those who are looking to reside in this house together, it's a collective house. Priority going to Kingston youth who have aged out of their environment.
I imagine if you're advertising in this scenario, but you can't deny somebody based.
Yeah, you should just double check the legality of that.
Sure.
Because you can't deny somebody from Saugerties, say, if they came upon it and there was a room there.
Okay.
I also don't think you could deny them when they turn 25.
This isn't considered a boarding house though either. It's a residential house with 4 separate rooms.
But if you have a lease and they're turning 25, that is age discrimination and a violation of the Fair Housing Act.
And you are limiting the time that they can stay, so there's.
And there's a boarding house.
I think
that
it would be
would be-
useful, one of the things that you should do.
You guys will have to talk to
Yeah.
your attorney.
Right.
We would love it if it was Kingston, but
Right.
you get yourself in trouble, so.
We will look into that more, and we will also be looking into maybe meeting with the senator about how to make affordable housing for young people, right? Because as of right now, there aren't a lot of opportunities for young people in affordable housing, period. So maybe the laws need to also be looked at being changed.
Yeah.
That would be considered family housing. There are various distinctions that you can make, like senior housing, but you can't make housing that's specifically targeted to a particular age group under senior.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other questions then about specifically related to the renovation, to the finances here? Steve, you had a question?
Not to do with that.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of info here, so pardon me if this was touched upon, but since there is a cap on the stay there, you provide assistance on their transitioning away from this facility into other housing?
The plan is to charge an affordable rent based on the sliding scale and take a portion of that rent and put it in, Tina said, a high yield savings account. So it's basically a deposit that grows. So a portion of the rent will go into a high yield savings, and when they are leaving the housing, then they will have that money to take with them. So it's not in addition to what is considered affordable. It's, at the risk of saying the wrong thing, it is a subsidized housing where we're taking a portion of the money that is already considered affordable based on income. And we're setting that aside to give back to them with interest.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it seems to be a cap on how long they can stay, right? Correct?
That was the plan, but we will be looking into that.
Yeah. So at the end of their stay, I'm just wondering, do you provide some help with them? I mean, you've been watching to make sure they have some money available. Does someone help them? The reason they're there is because they couldn't find housing before. So when they graduate from your facility, do you help them find another place to go?
I'm sure
Is
that they
that-
will look into something like that, not just send them away, but to look
And the whole
into.
idea is that they'd be developing life skills as they work with us in the residential area, that they'd be learning how to advocate for themselves, they'd be growing as human beings and being able to potentially spot opportunities. That's the whole point of the program, is to offer them the opportunity to grow and then hope that in the end they can fly. And if they can't, of course, we're there. That's the whole staff's purpose, is to be there for them. So yeah, I would say an astounding, death-defying, loud roar of a yes. There'll be supportive services across the board.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Presume that
absolutely.
they
That's
are-
each one of our hearts. That's why we're here, is to help see these people gain access and ability and skills.
And by the way, it's not just the people that are living in the homes that are going to be benefiting from the programming. There's also the synergistic relationship with these youth that are being trained below the age of 21 that are there. And so those students are being launched too concurrently. And so there's an entire collective of young people that are being launched both through the supportive housing and through the vocational training programs. So both are happening concurrently, and I think they'll feed off of one another. And I'm just doing quick cursory research now, just based upon the concerns around the Fair Housing Act. And there are certainly models for supportive housing for young people that do not violate the Fair Housing Act. And so there are ways that this can be properly designated. And so I think that there's certainly, it's worthy of discussion and consideration and consultation with housing attorneys, but there's by no means a barrier to this. There are models out there like this that target young people all across the country, and hopefully this can serve as a sort of an inspiration or a case study for others.
Jean?
I really appreciate what you're doing. I really love the concept. I really love that you're having people in place. What is concerning to me is none of your financing is in place. And we already went down that road one time. There's not one drop of your financing. Everything's in if. We are in a way. There's nothing solid. $850,000. You're getting away so cheap because there's so many surprises that you're gonna have there. Between electricity, foundation, there's so many surprises when you're dealing with a building. But I'm not gonna address your program, I'm just gonna address the finances and you putting it and rebuilding it. To me, $850,000 is real cheap. But in reality, it's gonna be a lot more. And there's there's no foundation that you're standing on right now financially that, to be honest with you, that we should have even looked at this. In my eyes, I'm just saying.
I'd like to say that we have $305,000 right now to start.
Spend in the building loan.
Without keys yet offered. This is for the record.
So
You
you're
can't
looking at
really get a
2 or
lot of
3
money
years.
when you don't have the
You're looking at
possession of the
2
building.
You're looking at 2 or 3 years before you're even up and running.
With people waiting in the wings for this to become a green light so that we can invest the things that we'd like to invest respectfully.
Yeah, no.
We haven't been able to launch any capital finance programs because we don't have
And
possession
personal
of the property. We have fundraising professionals, we have social media professionals, we have a network if you just go to our hockey team, we have people ready to
write checks,
blast the internet, letting them know where they can donate money. And we do have relatively solid numbers of $250 per square foot based on the adjacent buildings, which were in similar condition. So as far as running into surprises for what things cost, this is what I do for a living, have been for a long time. So I understand that pricing has gone up for a lot of things. I do also understand we have a lot of community members that are not only willing but eager to donate time, materials, skill. Even just looking at lumber yards, looking at people willing to subsidize their rates for this program, for the opportunity to contribute to their community. So while I do understand it sounds like a pipe dream to do it for $850,000. It's not when you have that many community members that are waiting to give you money. Once we receive the property, we anticipate, besides the $305,000, we anticipate receiving a lot more. I mean, we got $55,000 in 6 weeks without even being able to tell people about it, really. So I understand that this seems like a lot of money, it seems insurmountable, but it does not seem like that to us.
No.
Are there other questions?
Oh, I guess-
Questions only, no discussion,
Yeah,
just questions.
Yeah, a question just in terms of operational expenses, you sort of addressed it a little bit, the fact that people are going to be paying, but how did you come up with the estimations for how much the utilities are going to cost and electricity and everything else? And I know just from experience getting into a new building, there are a lot of extra costs that you can't anticipate, and that if you don't already have a reserve or an endowment built into your capital campaign, this is, you're gonna run across expenses that you had not foreseen. And just in terms of the operations, I'm not even talking about the construction, but just keeping the building heated and everything else that you go on. And it probably will take, you write a grant, it takes a year and a half sometimes for some grants to actually return, which means that you're looking at probably, you write a grant now, you're not going to hear for a year and a half, so you're looking at maybe, 3 years before this project is realized. And meanwhile, you've got to be paying expenses, operating expenses on a building in addition to your program. So I'm just asking if you thought
Sure.
about that or how
These are
you're
asking
gonna address
about
that.
operational costs?
Yeah, operational costs and how
Sure.
those fit into your plan for this building.
Okay, are you asking as the building is going along or once we have?
Well, both, because what
Okay.
happens is you're gonna be paying for the building as you're going
Sure.
along.
Okay. Let me kind of jump forward a little bit and say, once the building is in place, obviously there will be, let's just say that the tenants' fees cover taxes. Let's just say that. As far as other operational costs, we have an opportunity to run programming. So not only are we receiving labor from members of the community, they're paid from another foundation or organization, but we will have the ability to run workshops. I mean, think Maritime Museum, like, oh, it's a weekend workshop. Okay, it's $150 a person for a 2-day program. Okay, we can take 12 people. So it's things like that. And then projects that the kids can make. Okay, fine. It may only be $25 for a birdhouse. So maybe that's not the scale of what I'm talking about.
Right.
But as far as putting the kids to work because they are being paid, they can produce things that are income producing. We will continue to receive grants. We have annuities, not insane amounts. Don't expect them to go up every year necessarily, but basic operating costs, maybe this one covers electricity. But as far as reaching out to the community for more programming, rather soliciting the community and providing programming. We've also been in discussions with local businesses as far as bringing our kids to say, they'll raise garden beds. They pay for, the materials and X amount on top. So that money just flows right back in. So we have had multiple discussions with people in the community that would like our youth to do work and are willing to pay for it. They're not assuming they're getting free labor. They're assuming they're supporting a community program.
Right, and that will cover the cost of the programs. I'm just concerned about the sort of general operating costs that you're gonna.
Sure,
have about
but
that.
I am considering the programs as our home base also. Like that is the office, that is an office expense, so that's. The expenses for the house can be covered by the income from the business, is what I'm saying. By me working full-time, I will be out in the community and I think it will kind of all come full circle. We will budget for operating costs during building with the building budget. So we're not anticipating it's gonna take 5 years, we're anticipating it's gonna take 2 years. So to pay for the utilities and taxes in that time will be budgeted into the build. I understand the grants not come in the next day or the next month.
If only they would, right?
Right, but in the meantime, the funding that we are promised or committed is certainly enough to get going, do the major parts, and nothing more will be damaged in that time. That's the goal, Take it apart, put it back together what you can, and then as money comes in, this is how we do things. And towards the finished part of the project, then we can accept labor from people who are maybe less skilled. So any reduction, that's fine. I hope I answered your question.
Not a question, I was just going over the P&L statement that was submitted with your application.
Sure.
And it projects forward 3 years. And so part of what Sarah was asking about is answered in this. You have for year 1, 203,000 in operating expenses, 335,000, year 2, and 441,000 in year 3. So to Sarah's question, how will you cover these expenses?
Tina, are you getting this?
I am, and is that something that I can get back to you on by the end of the week with some more information on that? I mean, I'm kind of I'm kind of at the point right now of I need to take some medication and relax. So my grant writer and I can definitely work out some more budgeting information for you all. I'm really sorry. I mean, like, I did have serious back surgery with about 20 stitches in my spine right now. So I'm like propped up in a weird position and I've made it as long as I possibly can.
Sure.
And so I'm going to ask for that grace that if you have more questions, to please give them to us. And I'm happy to share that information out. Our operating budget, our first year, we came in under. This past year, we came in under. And so we have a small amount of operational funds right now that allowed us to rent out a space at Cornell Creative Arts Center, and also allowed us to run more programming. And the way that we have staffed our organization is through MSW students needing internship hours and with Access VR and the county also coming in to assist. So our operating expenses as is right now in how we're operating is very low. And we anticipate a lot of our operating budget for our workforce development to continue to remain low, and our housing program to offset some of that as well. And then working with our community partners to be able to provide a lot of service free of charge to the young people as well.
You good? Everybody else good?
Yes, she can go relax.
I can go relax. Thank you. I'm so sorry, guys. I
No
feel
problem.
terrible, but please feel free to put it in an email and I will get it back to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
If there are other questions, please email them to me, and then I will bundle them and get them to Coop.
Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate the effort you put into this. I think there's a general appreciation too for the general vision that you have. So we're going to now switch to hearing from Mike and the Kingston City Land Bank. You all don't have to stay for that unless, of course, you want to see. But we'll take a minute if you all want to go.
I was gonna say, Emily, you should stay.
I was just trying to go up the seat. It's the hot seat.
Bye, folks. Thank you.
Sure you don't need a break?
We're taking a little break.
Taking a little break?
Let me get break after your.
Stretch and play.
I'll be quick if you want. You like me to begin? Or?
Well, I'm going to wait till John to come back.
I would make everyone stand, but I'm not ready to leave, so. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. It's very silver. They cat eyes. What's that?
I'm assuming that he's going to be back momentarily, so I think we can get started. All right, Mike.
Yes, sir.
All of yours, figurative and literal.
Thank you. Before I begin, I just wanted to thank COOP for their proposal. I'm really inspired by all the nonprofits in our community. They have this shared service towards the various outcomes that we're seeking to achieve, so it's very inspiring what you propose for what that's worth genuinely. Also coming into this meeting on a personal note, I tried to reflect on, for me, what tomorrow means, President Carter being a day of national recognition. Having served at Habitat for Humanity for the greater part of 10 years, running the real estate and construction department in New York City, and having met Jimmy and Rosalind a few times, their commitment to service, again, that word service comes back again, my commitment to affordable housing and affordable homeownership in general. I just bring that into this meeting. I wanted to mention that before. I gave what will be a very dry presentation. It's more of a framework for discussion, I hope, but I'll read that.
It's dry January, so that's fitting.
Not up to this meeting.
This is an opportunity, right?
All right. We propose the following framework for discussion this evening. We appreciate the opportunity to come before you for this interview. The Kingston City Land Bank is a public authority. We are an incorporated nonprofit 501c3 organization. We are authorized by the council to exist. We're currently the only affordable homeownership provider in the city of Kingston. Our staff have over 2 decades of affordable housing experience, particularly on the homeownership side, having directly produced over 3,500 units of affordable housing. Specifically, we are specialists in affordable homeownership here in Kingston. We have a small but dedicated staff of 4 people. I'm joined by 2 amazing board members, Aaron and Rebecca, among many others who are probably on Zoom. So that's who we are, if you don't know. In less than 5 years from our first acquisition, starting today or ending today, we've returned over $2.5 million in assessed value to the tax roll. We've returned 100% of all residential properties that we've taken from the city of Kingston to the tax roll. We've provided the opportunity for 15 families to become first-time homeowners in our city. And today, with our proposal for 46 grand, what we're proposing would generate an estimated $8,500 in new real estate tax revenue.
I'm sorry, what was that?
$8,500 per unit.
Per unit,
Okay.
per year.
So what is our process? How will we get there? I'll get into the timeline later, but what have we done from our response via proposal to today? So last month, we secured a $2 million grant from the state of New York for work including this development. The balance of additional funding will be provided to develop our proposal as of right using state term sheets for affordable homeownership. Our development will also be as of right under the city's new code, and we hope will serve as an example of what's possible in asking for variances or changes, which you can actually do under the existing code. We own, as was mentioned previously, both contiguous lots. That gives us a unique advantage to maximize the affordable housing opportunity on this site by moving lot lines around. Our timeline. Our estimated timeline, we tried to be conservative here because we seek to do exactly what we say we're going to do every time that we say it. So we're estimating 14 months from council award to acquisition by the Kingston City Land Bank of what's called pre-development. Our pre-development would consist of, but not be limited to, our development program, our site plan approval, lot line revisions to the existing sites that we own and control on either side, architecture, engineering, general contracting, bidding, construction loan commitment, and the resolution of environmental conditions, which we'll get to further. This also includes state environmental review approval, permitting, and a construction loan closing for which I hope we are all at. 36 months from construction loan closing, we will conduct what's called development and sales. This includes, but is not limited to, demolition, of which I'm sure you're all familiar with. We've conducted demolitions in Kingston before at 177 Murray Street. Construction, offering plan acceptance by the New York State Attorney General, which we have significant institutional experience achieving to allow for a condominium offering plan being made effective. Sales and marketing. So, terms and conditions. We have proposed in our response several terms and conditions that we'd like to come to you today with some updates on. Specifically on the environmental side, we have secured the funds to pay for the removal of the recognized environmental condition that was noted in our phase 1 report. And we will conduct this work prior to construction loan closing. Affordability. We will explore the feasibility of 1 unit sold to a household at or below 60% of area median income. Currently, the programs that are available for our work do not offer the subsidies necessary to get below 80% of AMI. However, earlier today, in the budget discussions up in Albany, there are new programs being considered. We were asked actually to give firsthand testimony of the extreme housing conditions going on here, possibly to include additional subsidies to reach lower income levels. The balance of the other units in the development that we are proposing will be at or below 80% AMI. Our purchase price, we are proposing a purchase price of $1. Any increase to that purchase price would directly increase the affordability of the homes that we're selling, decrease the affordability. And finally, parking. We recognize that affordable housing over parking is a priority that we all share here. But in order to provide something that a bank will finance for marketing purposes and secure a construction loan, we propose the following: at 476 through 478 Broadway, a revocable lease for $1 a year, available for one space per unit. This is just a proposal. We know that we need to provide parking for marketing. We're seeking alternative methods to do that, but we did want to put that on the table as something for discussion if possible.
Can you tell me, is it
course.
okay if we ask questions midstream, or do you
No, I'd
want
rather
to come back
finish.
to?
I've done, the last thing I was going to say is any increase in parking lease costs would be passed on to the homeowners, decreasing the affordability. So that's why we propose it.
I was just wondering if you could say specifically where this parking is, because we do use some of that parking for our DPW staff, and
Not,
they need that. And yes, no, my spouse wants to work, so I'm not talking about the
Understood.
spouse, but the
Understood.
workers, we can't take away their parking.
of course not. We are proposing to use, we believe is somewhat underutilized municipal parking lot, next month, Jim's Coffee. Probably 44 spaces.
And that's, what's the
It's a-
difference? It's a little bit of a.
It's a little bit of a walk. But our hope is that over time, we demonstrate that given the location of this site and the alternative transportation opportunities available from immediately where this development will be placed, that need for parking will be non-existent or not as significant as a lender might believe.
I appreciate that, because, you know, our staff comes in at 3 a.m. to.
We don't want to take away any municipal
Yeah.
parking spaces. They're needs.
Other questions? Michael?
I mean, our parking pass is only $120. Could that not be built into part of the condo fee to just have a parking pass at one of these? All our municipal lots have the same pass.
Sure. We could build any number of ongoing operating expenses into the budget. The problem with that is that it decreases the affordability to the homeowners. And they might elect to opt out. They might elect to do something else. Part of the piece of this that we're so excited about and have experience in is the stewardship piece. So we will sit on the condo board. We will have them pass their initial operating budget. We will come to the condo meetings, and when someone says, I don't want to have parking anymore. I don't want to pay $120 because it's too expensive and I can't afford to live here. We'd like to have an option that's alternative. But certainly, someone could get their own municipal parking spot for $120 a month.
Bob?
Did I understand to say that you would, of the units, there would be 13 units?
Currently, what we proposed, and I think this is worth highlighting because it's a distinction from when we submitted to where we are today, was not moving any lot lines, only building on the tax lot that encompasses 46 grand. There was 12 units of affordable homeownership. Now with the opportunity, we've ceased construction on 488 Hasbrook for an extended period of time. By way of example, our contractors, the contractor on either side, neither one are done. The rehab costs are significantly more expensive than we anticipated 5 years ago when we started doing this work. We do have the opportunity to demolish, and we secured the funds to demolish the garage at 48 Hasbrook and expand into that back lot. So that would allow us to expand either private space, on-site parking, which we honestly would rather not provide in the face of public spaces, and additional affordable housing.
So, and affordable housing, you said one unit at 60%?
Yes.
And the rest at 80%?
Yes.
Okay.
Was a.
I'm sorry, Sarah was
No,
there.
Rose will go first. Oh, you go.
You want to arm wrestle?
Okay. She beat me. So there was some sort of environmental remediation that was going to be required because there is a,
Who knows what it is, but
okay,
that was what I had mentioned. We have secured funds to take care of.
so that would not be on this.
We would take care of it prior to close.
So in other words, there wouldn't be costs to us. We're only talking about the $1 transaction fee.
Yes.
Okay. Sarah?
Oh, but looking through your proposal, you said at one point of the proposal, you talk about a 2-unit ownership potentially.
Right.
And I just wondered, right, so I just wondered, and you said that could be done, and how would that work if you were to do that?
Of
I know
course.
that's just, you know,
We-
an idea, but.
We talked about this a lot internally. The alternative proposal to be put forth, and I think we had said funding could be located, is a townhome proposal. So a unit occupied by a homeowner with a rental unit below, parking in the rear. The challenge with that is that the state programs don't subsidize that rental.
Got it.
So you have a gap. So if we could,
I see.
we're balancing, maximizing the number of affordable units with the opportunities that are in front of us due to funding. So,
I understand.
yeah.
Would there be any, I think what they call this? In other words, okay, say I'm a condo owner in this development, and 5 years from now, I choose to sell it.
Yep.
Is there a limitation on the amount of money that I can recognize at the sale of that unit in order to maintain affordability
Yes.
for the next?
And that is restricted by the enforcement mortgage. We have our own enforcement mortgage at Planet Bank. The state has its own enforcement mortgage. We fight with each other every single time, but most likely we would have to use the state's enforcement mortgage. So if there was $100,000 in enforcement mortgage based on state subsidy, that would remain in full force in effect for 10 years, but you wouldn't have to pay it back if you sold to an income qualified purchaser. So that's the way of keeping it affordable for the full 30-year term.
But the owner would be able to, upon sale, they would be able to recognize a certain profit.
This is the interesting thing about our work is we're an equity generating model. And so as AMIs increase, and I know there's a lot of discussion around that, that allows, if I'm at 80% 5 years from now and you sell to me, my income will actually be higher. So the mortgage that I can take on is higher. So your equity upon sale will be realized.
Excellent.
The next person that's going to buy it, they can go by the AMI.
Yes. So it runs with the property,
Okay.
so it doesn't renew on each sale. It's 30 years total.
Well, does that include that 60% unit?
Yes,
as well?
And the number, I'm sorry, the number of bedrooms, you mentioned you were looking at certain models, so 1, 2, and 3.
We need to figure out the mix, and the mix is predicated on the discussion here tonight about parking, usage of parking, and how much parking has to be on site. It's also predicated, obviously, on being considered to be awarded, in which case we could demolish the garage at Hasbrook, expand the area we can build into. This is probably not answering your question. We would seek to have the most diverse use of unit mixes possible, but we don't know the exact unit count until we finish this conversation.
Can I add one thing to the word?
Yeah, please.
I'll just say that every time we do a campaign, we're reached out to by people on either side of the kind of household size brackets for our homes. And, small families and big families who don't qualify because we have a 2-bedroom, and if you have a household of 8 or a household of 1, it doesn't match up. I think as a board, we are committed to trying to provide them as diverse a range as possible.
Yes.
And so we're looking at a condominium model here, right? Where you would be selling the properties and then at some point, then you would be out of ownership of the property.
That's correct, but the stewardship piece that I mentioned is a big part of our work and the commitment that we've made. So many condominium developers would sell the property, their warranties would expire and then leave. On the stewardship piece, we will be holding a seat on the condominium board for a period of time. We will be involved in helping to calculate on the resales. It's sort of like a full commitment that you have to make on the housing side. So we're not out. Another model that we're considering on the ownership side is a cooperative model, which involves similar integration by the sponsor.
But you would be working with the owners to develop the governance structure.
Absolutely. We would put in place the first year's budget. So that would include an attorney, an accountant, exterminating pest control budgets for the common area lighting and all the other expenses. But then we would help them, pass that budget, and then we would come to the board meetings. And depending on how that budget was going, we and their attorney could help advise them what to do about it.
Okay. Michael, is there?
Yeah, you said a certain period of time. Is that like 5 years, 10 years, the whole 30 years?
I still get calls from Habitat families that I helped get into homes in 2008. And I don't not take, no, seriously, I don't not take those calls. We've talked about that internally. I don't think a hard commitment on our part is really what's important. I think it's making sure that we give people the tools to succeed on their own, but that we don't let go too soon. So for example, I don't want to go off on a tangent, but in New York City, the affordable cooperatives that were put in place in the 90s, the city abdicated responsibility for stewardship, and that's why they've fallen apart. Because they never raised common charges, now they need a new roof. we're aware of those pitfalls and we're not making a commitment. This is our service area. We're not going anywhere.
So if I had to put words in your mouth, you'd be leaning longer than shorter.
Longer than, yeah.
As necessary, which could be longer than longer, yeah.
It'll be very long, which is the commitment.
And that, I had the same question Michael did, so you answered.
Other questions? Any other questions? All right. With the committee's forbearance, we do have emergency, I mean, not emergency, but a meeting scheduled before our next common council meeting. So we do have the option of putting off the vote until that meeting, if folks want to. Okay.
And still making a decision for February's council meeting. So it would not push us any later in the final determination of this, if you want more time.
So the question partly is whether you want to wait and get more information from the COOP.
Right, because they did
folks.
say they would send more information. Yeah, I think so.
Wait,
Can we discuss the applications in executive session?
yeah,
Yeah, it's H.
Can
yeah.
I make a motion that we,
Do you have the word, Michael, or you want me to?
can I just say go into executive session,
No.
section H?
H, the proposed, so yeah, 105.
Bookmarked it.
But the 105, conduct of executive sessions, H, the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property.
So moved.
And we'll invite Mark to stay, much to his chagrin.
Oh, there needs to
Yeah,
be.
so the motion is to, is there anyone else?
And John.
And John, yes.
Myself.
Oh, and John, and the other.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time tonight.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, so we have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm not part of this, no, I don't know about this. Where are you going?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, you got it, thank you.
I'm sorry?
Trust me, I like check it 3 times.
Unless you want to go through the rest of the agenda. I don't think so. Budget transfers and.
Yeah. The other finance issues, well, the other finance issues are, transfers. And there is one other issue that we'll probably have to
Give him the money.
table. Give him the damn money.
Do you want to move to Schultes next after this?
Yeah, but we'll vote, we'll take a little break.
That's what, it's John Schulte's.
Yeah.
Is he gonna be online or?
I saw John was on there earlier.
Yeah.
He's not now, should I?
He gave up.
Well, do we need him considering that we're gonna?
You don't think it's necessary questions?
Remember last time?
We're gonna.
What's the other side break after this?
Yeah.
I just broke out right now.
See, he didn't tell me it was a
This is the Hollywood Bowl.
All right.
All right, my friends.
What, house?
I miss my dog.
What's his name again?
All right, we are back in session now. After a due discussion in executive session, we have a resolution. And the resolution reads, resolution of the City of Kingston Common Council to sell 46 Grand Street to the Kingston City Land Bank for $1 with the condition that at least one unit will be 60% AMI and all the other units at 80% AMI or below, with an estimated financial impact minus $1. But, okay,
Sorry.
do we have a motion?
Motion.
Michael,
Second.
second by Sarah Pasty. Is there any discussion? I will like to say that we've considered the possibility too, if Coop is interested, because we were very much impressed by the program they were proposing, that Drew and Sarah are happy to work with them to
Yes.
discuss their proposal, discuss future possibilities, because we would like to work with them in whatever capacity that we can. And they're both nodding yes, so we take that as a commitment.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
committed
I'm committed
to
to.
Tina and her whole board.
Mhm.
With you, we can talk and try to set some plans
Yes.
for how to focus on, capital campaign. And.
What that
you know,
means
just
and what
what
that
does it mean?
entails and
Because I've been there, you've been there,
Yes.
and, I'm more than willing and committed to helping.
Me too.
Cool.
All right then, is there any more discussion? Andrea?
I just wanted to thank everybody for the thoughtful conversation and yeah, that's it. I mean, from last month I wasn't here, but I appreciate everybody's.
And
Consideration.
also, if you could advise them on the housing piece.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, hearing no more discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yes.
Measure passes. You'll have a chance to say aye. In a
You can
complete-
still say aye.
The measure passes unanimously. We thank everybody who sent in proposals. We wish we could spread the property to all who wanted to use it, but we're limited to one and one. All right, there's a sign. I will take a 4-minute break, and I'm going to say a 3-minute break, and you'll be back in 5 minutes.
Thanks, Bertha. Do you want me to mute? I'm gonna mute this. At least we're still here, but just breaking.
You
It's back here.
All right. We are back in session, if not in order. With everyone's forbearance too, we are going to flip the agenda again, and we're going to go into the pipe plan demolition issue. That's item number 7. We're going to look at that first. But to do that, we need to go into attorney-client session. So we need to close up there. Yes, thank you.
You can
I have to say,
You don't want to watch us like approve budget transfers?
and if you guys haven't, so if you didn't see my email about the other special meeting.
Yes.
I saw some responses, so just.
When is that?
I think he responded, yeah. Not much longer.
See you Good night.
Good night.
Actually, what I.
I'm cheating.
There was a budget transfer for chief grant.
We
are being recorded, I just have to. Yeah.
You see that? There's no.
The finance meeting, we're talking.
Yeah. See, what's
So
the
there's
next?
your glance.
Third.
Third. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
This is the one that concerned me.
For what?
For a breakdown, which accounts for effect, I think it's the zero.
We would ask, like, was that famous line from Bill Clinton's trial? Well, it depends on what the meaning of is. I think we need to be asking those questions. In this
I didn't
document,
see
what
such.
is the meaning of is?
There was, but it's an intern, I think it's an intern. I think it's for the cruise.
It was my phone.
Oh, welcome back.
You're back.
You
missed us.
told me, I looked for it.
No, you're not.
You don't have a house phone? You don't have a landline?
No.
Why?
Well, she doesn't have her phone, how's she gonna call you?
You lost your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I know, that's.
Does your daughter have Find Your Friend?
On your phone? No.
You have
Doesn't have that
Wi-Fi on
phone.
your phone.
No.
What about in the car, right in between the seats?
That's what I looked,
Yeah.
yeah. Even better.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Did you have a bag that you might have stuck it in a different
Yeah,
pocket
no.
or something? You looked in there?
We emptied out the bag.
Pat you down.
Oh.
Man.
Hey, John, have you?
Good night.
I have not.
No, there was some in the
Oh,
inside.
my God.
And then here's for scale.
Oh, so cute.
I mean, it's not.
How old?
Heather is rigatoni.
How old? For sure.
He is a year and a half.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How much does he weigh?
7 pounds.
Oh, he's tiny.
Yeah.
He's less than
Oh,
my
my
hat.
God, he's cute.
Yeah,
He's long.
he's long,
That is-
rigatoni.
Yeah,
Oh, so
yeah,
it's on-
just like a regular.
It's on from Fun Day.
Oh, my God. So many people.
It's not gonna be schnauzer, but he dwarfs.
Okay.
Well, this is what this gentleman is.
Yeah. My dad has a dog about 17 pounds, it's just like, he's huge.
He knows the answers to these questions?
But I couldn't remember if it was next month or this
No,
month.
it's, yeah.
It's right now.
You feel better?
He's pretty fluffy for a dog.
Yes, I know.
All right, so we got a number of budget transfers here. The first one is from Steve Knox in Building and Safety. This is one to move money to balance accounts, so there's zero financial impact. Do you have a motion to approve? Steve Shabbat.
Second.
Second by Sarah
I'm sorry.
Pathke. You gotta get in there, Michael.
You can get the next one.
Oh my God, still my, okay. Is there any, the report reads, internal budget transfer request with zero financial impact, $1,746.76, from employee training to for the lines, uniforms, office supplies, vehicle fuel, and postage. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously.
I'm glad I saw Steve in the elevator and I told him, go home, I am. He was coming tonight.
Oh,
He was
really?
here.
Yeah, really.
I got you.
He was good.
I should email him.
Yeah.
No, hey,
The second one here is a fund balance. This is to reconcile accounts in the Parks Department, but this is going to be taking money from fund balance. So the description reads budget transfer from fund balance of $32,950 to reconcile parks retirement accumulation account. So this is for retirement, right?
Yes, and typically the money would come from, there was a little bit of a misquote in the letter. Typically, this money comes from fund balance, or from contingency. Contingency is close to tapped out, so I recommend taking it from fund balance. And so the wording on the committee report is correct.
Okay.
I was gonna probably one of my financial updates is give a little more information on fund balance versus contingency for everyone, so.
That would be great.
You think that would be helpful?
Yeah, it would.
Okay.
I also have in my handbook that I gave everybody, because a couple of years ago, you gave me the difference.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, I'll go into more detail, but fund balance is basically like, if you think about your own personal life, would be like what you have, what you have in your savings account would be like the equivalent of, say, the fund balance, using, more generic than need be. And if you had like your own budget for home, like your, like a checkbook budget where, you had maybe like, okay, this is my paycheck coming in, this is my income coming in, these are my different expenses going out, rent or mortgage, utilities, car insurance, things like that. Contingency would be like, if you had another line that says other or miscellaneous, and say you went over on your entertainment budget for the month. Well, I guess I can't spend as much as I had in my other line for that month. So when we're taking money from contingency, we're taking it from that other line and putting it in the entertainment or the rent or the utilities, whatever went over. It's like a budget item, not like a actual, like where the fund balance is more like
It's sort of like
more like the savings account.
Like checking versus savings.
Kind of in a way, right? So, but I'll give a better explanation than that, but that's like a quick, 5-cent analysis of
Yeah,
it.
no, that's good.
It's more of a, like a budgeting thing, the contingency, where the fund balance is actually, it's money on hand, it's.
Right. Okay.
Okay. I already read the description, right? Yes, so it's coming from fund balance this time, it's for retirement. This is a contractual requirement.
Yes.
So do we have a motion to approve? Michael Tierney, second by.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
Who's retiring?
Someone already did retire. I could pull
I
up
think,
the.
I think we were talking about that, yes. That's right.
All right, the next one is in the fire department, transferring funds to cover year-end overages. Attached Excel form indicates accounts affected. Total is $492,552.89. This one, actually, there is no spreadsheet attached.
There was no spreadsheet attached.
Yeah, let me, I'm gonna pull that up.
And I was unclear, this is funds within the department?
This was internal.
That's what I thought.
Chris Ray went over this with me.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of it is it's moving money. The primary thing we're covering is, I believe it was overtime, right, for the ambulance. We're drawing some money from ambulance revenue because we didn't budget ambulance revenue. In 24, we're just adding to that budget through budget transfers. I'm gonna I got this dual factor on my phone here on my computer. Let me just, I believe I have a copy of the.
Yeah,
And I can read it to you once I have it pulled up.
Yeah, he did say that it was within the account, so I realized it was like no,
Yeah, we sat down.
$0 impact, but.
Sorry. I should have had this pulled up before. I realized it wasn't in the.
Yeah.
We're waiting. These all have two?
Two.
You're getting half and I'm getting half. Oh, this just has one.
Typo in the lawyer's letter.
Oh, this just has one. Oh, I was passing you?
Didn't that invalidate the whole point? Yep. That's why we were rejecting it. So,
I cannot find it.
7,016.
No, that's all.
I mean, oh, here. All right. Do you want me to email this to all of you? So you have it? All right, so here, I'll forward this email.
These are good.
Those are good?
Sending it right now. But I'll give you the cliff notes real quick. It is a variety of accounts from and to, because it is just a massive year-end cleanup. The big thing from the from account is taking $315,000 from ambulance revenue, which is additional revenue that wasn't originally budgeted, and taking money from other accounts totaling another roughly almost $180,000 of other accounts that are underspent, and moving it to accounts totaling $260,000 of overtime, most of which is ambulance related, $100,000 of comp time payout, and then just a variety of other accounts. Social Security is almost $50,000, $23,000 for retirement accumulation. But there is no financial impact by the transfer.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I think we have to do it. I mean, certainly if you have a question, you can ask them, but, I just.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
There's no cost to our.
No, I mean, there's overall, 24 was, started the ambulance service, so KFD went over, we know that. The revenue didn't start flowing in until some time ago, which it is flowing in now.
Good.
Yeah.
So that's the good news.
Yeah, the good news is that, I mean, I will update you in 25 to see if we can hit that $1.5 million target revenue. I do have concern whether or not, the fire department will be able to meet their overtime goals. Their overtime for 24 was significantly higher than what's budgeted in 25. They weren't fully staffed.
Right.
We'll see what happens with 25. I mean, they should be fully staffed by, last conversation I had with them, it'd be April by the time they got, new hires. They still have to hire new hires to get them back in training. So I think the overtime's gonna run hot until spring, and then, at that point, we should get a better idea of what the overtime's gonna be. And the one thing with 25 that wasn't the case in 24 is the overtime for the fire department will be split out between the actual fire operations and ambulance. So you were able to see like the overtime just for ambulance operations.
And maybe people won't have as many emergencies this year as they did last year, or maybe more, who knows?
Well, with our healthy snacks and the on the heart attacks.
those are balanced by the incoming national administration. If Trump was smart, instead of just saying, we're going to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, he would run a contest and people have to pay money in. So this would be a way of like balancing the budget. You have to buy your, to get into to the game for a suggestion for your name. Anyway, sorry.
Pretty sure they already do that. Campaign accounts.
Good point. All right. Okay. So then this, I read this already, right? Do we have a motion to approve this fire department motion?
Motion. Second.
Drew
Give it to
Andrews,
Michael.
second by Sarah Pasty. Discussion.
It's a bonus.
Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Very good. The next item is in the clerk's office. So this one, this is a transfer. The report reads transfer of $70,000 from fund balance to cover expenses and judgments and claims. So moving $70,000 from fund balance to judgments and claims, the estimated financial impact is $70,000. So this is basically to cover claims made against the city for a whole variety of issues.
And this is closing out 24's numbers.
Right, this is to close out 24 numbers. It's still possible. They put a little more here, I believe, than what they actually had, but we could still get additional bills in towards 24. Right now, this is for 24. And it's a conversation you and I have to have with, because we'll have to have some meetings just for budget transfers, but yeah, you're gonna see 24 budget transfers up through March.
Okay.
But yeah, this is part of that. This is the deductible, the city's deductible on claims.
That's the end of March, we have to call them, right?
We need a second meeting in March.
And so this also is one that normally would come from contingency, right?
Yes, yeah, this is another one that we normally pull from contingency, and this speaks to, and we've been discussing regarding the insurance, and we really see there's been a huge spike in the deductible, the city's deductibles on these claims last few years.
So that's why you're pulling from fund balance instead of contingency?
Yeah, I mean, part of, in a perfect world, we'd have enough in contingency to handle all these unexpected expenses that come up during the year, but, as you see, I mean, we went through contingency early in the year. We've been drawing on fund balance for quite a while, so,
I see.
I probably should.
But this is all 2024?
2024, yeah, but, there's not a lot in contingency for 25 either, so just, I can see where, this would become an issue in 25 as well. I didn't put that in one of my risk things on my report because we are with a new insurer. There are some differences in what we get billed for. So my understanding is we won't be billed for some of the attorney's fees as part of the deductible that we were under the prior insurer, but so we'll kind of see how that plays out. But the prior insurer will also be running us. Just when you switch insurers, you still have claims that were outstanding with the old insurers. We'll be getting claims from them for a little bit of time still.
Okay.
So. Sorry for a long-winded answer.
No, it's helpful.
Great.
All right.
Okay.
Then do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Sarah Pasty, second. Drew Andrews. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes unanimously. And then the last item, and I don't have
I have a committee report for you. I told the mayor I'd handle this for him. So
Right. Can you
this
tell us what this is about?
Sure. So this is a good news thing. Well, hopefully good news.
Hopefully
thing.
good.
I'm asking for good news, I should say. So part of the 24-25 New York State budget allocated an additional $50 million of state aid towards municipalities in New York State. It has been 15 years or more since, I believe it's been 15 years or more since state aid has been increased. This, what they call AIM funding, has been increased to municipalities. If you look at the budget, if you look at revenue within my department, you'll see there's a line there. State aid, it's AIM funding, it's $3 million a year, I believe. But in any event, that had not been increased for many, many years. The 24-25 state budget allocated additional $50 million to municipalities across the state the city of Kingston received $356,000 and change of that, of those funds. At the time, it was expressed that this was a one-shot, a one-time stipend or aid to these municipalities. And what the mayor is asking for in coalition with other municipalities, with NICOM as being the advocate of requesting that the state make this a permanent item, potentially even increase that aid. So he's asking for town council support in that effort.
To ask
The state, ask for that 356 million to ask for at least that amount in the 25-26 state budget, and consider the state to consider even increasing that amount.
I would say yes.
So it is, I mean, we might as well ask. I mean, this is something that NICOM has asked municipalities to join together and to do this.
We support that.
So I think it's
More money, more money, more money.
Are we gonna change your municipality to the city of Kingston?
This is just a simple.
It's a sample resolution. I think when Janet draws this up, we can ask her.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Your name here.
Right.
All right, the committee report right there. I'm sorry, are there any more questions? Okay, sure. The committee report reads, request the common council to pass a resolution, sample attached, in support of continued and increased state aid for local governments. Financial impact is not out here. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Drew Andrews, second by Michael T. Is there any discussion? Then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. That is the end of the business that we're considering, as far as I understand it.
And then that New York State revenue, the annual amount that we're receiving for many years is $3,069,000 and change. So 356 is over a 10% increase for that 1 year or so.
Yeah.
It's worth asking for. Yeah.
All right, then, do we have a motion to adjourn, or are we having so much fun?
Oh, to adjourn.
Oh, okay. Do we have a second?
No one's seconding.
You're too tired to second. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all for the long meeting.
It looked like a short one, right?
It looked like a short one.
I did not think that this was gonna be until 1 o'clock.
I've been
dinner.
Yeah, I didn't
this
agree
council.
either.
No, I thought this was.
Thanks,